Have you ever found an image that you thought was so beautiful, but you had no idea how to translate that to paper and with pencil? Well, this video is for you. I'm going to show you a super easy technique on how to take any picture, any image, and turn it into a very quick and easy drawing. One of the easiest things to do is use this stuff called carbon copy paper. It's just like very similar to the artist tracing paper that you can find in any big name art supply store like Blick or anything like that. So carbon copy paper is what they used for making copies for receipts back in the day. But now you can just buy it online, get it on Amazon, big packs of sheets, and then you can tear it, cut it down into smaller pieces like this. Now what it does is it leaves the image that you trace onto a piece of paper. So let me show you how that works. So when you buy your carbon copy paper, there is a dull side like this, and then there is a darker shiny side like this. The darker shiny side is the side that's going to leave the carbon, just like charcoal, onto your paper, just like a print. And so you want that side always, that shiny dark side, to face your paper like so, and that dull side to be on the top, just like that, okay? So you want to use kind of a sandwich method. So you put that shiny side down, and then you can tape it if you like, or once you've kind of figured out your placement for your image, then you place that on top and then tape it all together. Now, before we actually start tracing this picture, I just want to give you a few different tips before getting started. So the best thing to do is to get rid of some of this extra white paper on anything that you're tracing. It just helps you identify where the black paper is behind it. And then the same thing with your, not black paper, but the carbon copy paper. You can cut that down as well. You really just want it to be the same height as whatever image you're trying to trace. So I'm going to get rid of that. That looks pretty good, okay? Again, shiny dark side facing down, my image facing up, and now I'm going to just place it wherever I want it on my paper or my sketchbook, and then I'll tape it down. I don't always tape it down because, I mean, I've done this a few times, so I'm not too worried about moving it. But the key is that you don't want to press hard. So just want to show you something real quick. So even if I just use my fingernail, it's going to leave a mark right here. So you have to be very delicate on the area that you're not tracing. And then grab something like a stylus, like something like this, or a pencil works just fine to trace your image. Now the trick to tracing your image is obviously identifying the things that are important. So the silhouette of this is important. Silhouette of my strawberries, or not strawberries, but my raspberries. And the folds in that little top on the lid. You can get super detailed with this. I have done really detailed drawings just with the carbon copy paper, adding shadows, lots of value, so you can really get into it, or you can just be kind of loose and light. Now the other trick is to know where you just put your lines down, or what you just copied. So if you start to copy this and then all of a sudden you forget, then what you want to do is very gently, you want to make sure that you're holding this so it doesn't move, and lift it up. So now you can see there's my image. It's starting to trace onto the paper. I've done most of it except this edge of the raspberry and also the top where that lid is. So sometimes I'll go back over something just to make sure I've got it. Okay, that looks great. Now what we're going to do is we're going to remove this, and then we can start painting. So see how simple that was? If you know, again, my tip is make sure that you tape these down together, and then you want to make sure that you can see some of the top of that carbon copy paper. Otherwise they won't stay together as one. And then just always really pull it back gently to check. Don't put a lot of pressure on it when you're drawing, because remember, any of those marks will leave that carbon on the paper. So in just a minute, let's go ahead and paint this. Okay, I'll be right back. So there's a couple different ways that we could approach this using watercolor. We could do just as I did before, where I created my outline with the carbon copy paper and then I just painted it directly. Another thing that you could do is take a pen, like these Unipin fine liner pens. These are waterproof, and you could do your outline first on top of that carbon copy outline, do just some general outlines and then paint, and then add more detail again with your waterproof fine liner. So let's try that for this one. You can always add it later if you like, but sometimes it's kind of nice to have those lines covered up from the get-go. And even though we trace this, you definitely still need to take a look at your reference image to make sure that you're getting those lines correct. And I'm gonna remove that carbon copy paper before I add more lines to my sketchbook. Okay. That looks good. Nice. The first one that I did was pretty loose with the paint. I just kind of went fairly quickly when I was painting this one over here, and I could do the same thing. You could even have less detail. So this is another good use of this carbon copy paper is you can just make the same image over and over and over and over again. So let's say you were practicing your style, working on different styles or looks for a painting. You don't have to spend all the time in the world making perfect drawings. I mean, that's good practice, but as I mentioned before, personally, I don't have a ton of time to spend on that stuff. So if the painting is the part that I enjoy the most and takes a lot of time, then I'll do a quick sketch in a different way, just like this. Okay, so here I just used my fine liner. There might be a couple other things that I could add if I wanted to, but I think that looks pretty good. I'm not gonna add too much detail with this. And then I'm gonna just go in and start painting. Now this part, this whole checkerboard part, was kind of tricky the first time, so I might rethink that or change the color the second time. I'm gonna leave a little white spot here. Using some alizarin crimson. Actually, I need a little more. So hopefully you're starting to think about all the different ways that you can use this stuff. Use the carbon copy paper. I just think it's the best. It's fun, makes things really easy to get down. And then you just, if you don't like it, you don't like the painting, you don't like the drawing, you still learned a lot through the process, but you don't have to spend all that extra time worrying about getting the colors the lines just right. I'm gonna just throw some color in here. So I don't know if you noticed, but I wet the surface first. Adding some alizarin crimson. It has a little bit of purple in it. I'm gonna add a little more purple so I can kind of match that. I've got a little extra purple on the side of my palette here. Maybe a tiny bit of black or Payne's gray. It's nice. There we go. Looks more like a wine color. And I'm gonna leave that white spot for a highlight. Just think it's so nice. And you could do this with pictures. So you could just print out some pictures, like family pictures, if you're trying to work on illustrating or making something look kind of cartoony. That's another good use of that. Sometimes just helps you see some of these folds that might be really challenging if you look at it in person, or if you're a beginner to drawing or painting. I think it just really helps because it helps you identify all those different shapes and creases, and that are otherwise incredibly hard to master without having some practice. Let's just plop some of this color in. I'm just having fun. This is, you know, this is just for funsies. See how I'm kind of, you know, I did this one. I'm not going to do all those little lines like I did the first time. I think I'm going to just make some blobby color and see how that turns out. See if I like it. But you can already see that I can try different colors. I can try different styles. It just makes it really fun. I could take the same picture, shrink it down in a program, and then be kind of playful with it. That looks good. Okay, I'm going to totally change up this checkerboard thing because it was a lot of work. And I think we just need something a little different. Oh, I kind of forgot what I was going to do. Let's do gingham. Mm-hmm. Now I'm just going to go in the reverse. See how fun this is? So had I spent, you know, 15 minutes drawing this thing and then painted it and didn't like it, I would have felt like, man, that took a lot of time. And now I can test out a bunch of ideas and it's not a big deal. That's cute. I like that better. And then you could do things like maybe, like, what's that? Is that a, you know, maybe that needs to be, let's make that a string. And then you could, you know, make a label. I mean, there's just so many things that you could do with this stuff. Let's see. Let's do a really red piece of string. See how that looks. Nice. I think we need to make this jelly jar even darker. Just going in while it's still wet. There you go. Okay, so, oh, I forgot the green. Just because I think it will bother me if I make an entire video and don't finish the actual tops of these raspberries. I'm gonna just quickly color that in. All right, nice. Okay, so now we have, just to show you how quick that was. So quick reminder, we're using carbon copy paper to create our outline. You can do this like, let's say, again, you're making trying to figure out which style you want for your project. You just want to, you could even take your own drawing, print it out, and do copies of your own drawing. So you know, I don't consider it cheating. I think it's a great learning tool. It's great for beginners, advanced students. It doesn't really matter. Well, that's it for now, but I hope you feel inspired, excited, and ready to get making some art. So I will see you next time. Don't forget to subscribe and follow along for more tips and techniques. Have a great day. Bye-bye.